Now, here's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about a couple of different issues. I'm going to talk about skin issues. I'm going to talk about headaches. And I'm also going to talk about joint or soft tissue pain. Okay. A lot of times people have some of these issues and they just think that, oh, well, everybody gets these. So these just must be really, really normal. And the reason why I want to talk about these because they're so pervasive. And afterwards, you'll be able to see, no, it's not. It's the body giving us warning signs. But that's why when we talk about things like skin issues, headaches, joint and soft tissue pain, that's why I want you to be at the next event. If you are from the Chicagoland area, come to our next inflammation event that's going to be on Tuesday, March 12th, which is tomorrow night at 6:00 p.m. You can go to the top of Instagram and you can go ahead and register for that in-person event. If you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, you'll be able to see it. Heck, even on YouTube as well. Just follow. If you see our Linktree profile, you'll be able to see it on there and get registered if you are from the Chicagoland area so that we can work with you one-on-one. And in fact, I will tell you this, we have a lot more availability working in person than we do with the other alternative, which is remotely. And if you are not within the Chicagoland area, but you are also within the contiguous 48 states, then you can go ahead and you can watch the webinar. And these are for people who we work with remotely only. And whether you have problems with weight loss, resistance, you have problems, with cancer, infertility, thyroid disease, arthritis, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune issues going on, even issues with your hormones. Remember, hormones don't make you sick, but they'll make you feel sick. Then you have to understand, watch the webinar. If you watch the webinar, you'll be able to follow it all the way through, and you can watch it right on demand. And if you watch it all the way through, at the end, I'll have a link on there in which you can schedule a discovery call with me. So that way you can schedule that discovery call, and I'll be able to take a look at some of your initial labs and things like that and get a better understanding of what's going on. So please make sure that if you are from the contiguous 48 states, guys, I will tell you this, we are running out of space when it comes to our remote schedule. So this will not be active forever. I can't tell you when we may take it down, but we will be taking it down at some point, just as an FYI. Okay. All right. So, now if you guys are follow me on social media, how many of you are really doing the You Don't Know Squat challenge? How many of you are really, really doing it? Because I have done it almost every single day. I did it before squatting. And yes, I did squat today as well. But the reason why we put out these challenges is to help make your life better. Someone reached out to me a couple of, this was, I think, earlier today. He's like, hey, why are you doing a squat? And I'm like, there's someone not doing the You Don't Know Squat challenge. Okay. And so, but one of the things that we're trying to do is there's a principle in the body known as specific adaptation to imposed demands, meaning if you place a demand on the body has to adapt to it. This can be good or bad. You put a good stressor on the body has to adapt to it. So one of the things that we're trying to do for the month of March is to try to get your mobility better in order to be able to hold a proper squat. Okay. When people say, I don't squat, I'm like, yes, you do. Do you get off a toilet or off a chair? Then you squat. And you have to be really good at that in order to be able to not only do it, but also to be able to build strength. And people say, I need to put on muscle mass. I'm like, great. Put it on in your butt and your thighs and in your lower back. It's the easiest way to put on muscle mass. That's why squatting and deadlifting and things like that are some of the best exercises to do as well. But I've done it almost every single day since the beginning of March. And guys, if I do a challenge, I do it right along with you as well. Okay. I do it right along with you because it's very important to be congruent and to do it with people as well. So if you are behind a little bit, make sure you go to the top of the page. You can watch the video. And also please make sure that you get a t-shirt as well that says You Don't Know Squat. You'll see this if you screenshot this on the scan code, this QR code, that'll take you right to be able to get that t-shirt. And you'll see right here, it says You Don't Know Squat. And after the end of the month, I hope you do know how to squat. But whether you know squat or not, we'll see. All right. So common symptoms of inflammation that are not normal. Okay. Guys, just because something is common, it does not mean that it's necessarily normal. Common does not equal normal. But we have been led to believe that if something is common, then it now becomes normal. And let me give you an example. And you'll see if you're watching this online, you can see my slides. You'll see that I have a picture of someone breaking into a car. Okay. Now, if there happens to be a lot of break-ins into a car at 12 o'clock at night on Saturday night in Chicago, would that be common? Yes. But would we just, if we saw someone breaking into a car, we would say, oh, just go ahead and break into it because everybody at some point gets their car broken into. So now it just becomes normal. So one of the things is things as things become more and more common, we then we misconstrue it as something that now becomes normal. It's like the whole idea with moderation. You know what moderation is? Um, Everyone says moderation. Moderation is dependent on the people you hang out with. So if all of the people you hang out with are sick and on multiple drugs and unhealthy, moderation takes a whole new term, a whole new meaning. If the people you hang out with are into fitness and into nutrition and stuff, and moderation will take on a whole new term. Moderation is dependent on the people you hang out with. That's why moderation can be so stupid. Moderation is actually a term that people use to justify their sassy behavior. When so they say all things in moderation, I'm like, well, tell me exactly what moderation is. Because you know what never works is if I called up my wife and I said, honey, today I'm going to love you moderately. That just doesn't work that well. I'm going to love you moderately. Or if you told your coach, if I was in high school or if I was in college, and I said, coach, today I'm just going to give a very moderate effort. That's not going to fly. But a lot of times we give a very moderate effort when it comes to our health, and we're not into growth or things like that. So, guys, just because if you go into Chicago, a lot of people are breaking into cars, we would never ever call that normal. So common does not necessarily mean normal. Moderation, yes, that's right. Moderation is actually kind of a stupid term in order to justify our bad behaviors. So I was on a phone with a wonderful woman earlier today who scheduled a remote discovery call with me, and she found it. She actually followed us on Instagram, and then she watched the inflammation webinar and then decided, hey, I need some help further. And so she scheduled a discovery call with me. So I called it today. It was about 11:15 our time. And she had filled this out, and she said, what are five major health concerns in order of importance? She said, I have anxiety, I have IBS, high cholesterol, I'm always fatigued, I don't get good sleep, and also I have high blood pressure. And so I asked this question, what have you tried, in the past and what hasn't worked? And all of it pointed to doctors doing tests and then recommending medications. Let me say that again. Doctors doing tests, not to look for causes, but to look for fires, and then just recommending medications. So, guys, you understand that if you have digestive issues and anxiety, high cholesterol, problems with sleep or fatigue, blood pressure, there's a medication for all that can just manipulate all of those different things. And she said, it just doesn't feel right. I know that there's a better answer. And guys, here's one of the biggest things: as someone who has suffered with having an irritable bowel, do you know that if you have an irritable bowel, the level of histamines given off by the immune system as a reaction is incredible. And that can cause so many issues when it comes to brain activation or anxiety, things like that. There's a connection between the gut and there's a connection between the brain. The brain is just the receiver for the message that's happening in other parts of the body. It's just the antenna. And that's why when people get sick, you'll notice that their brain actually starts to change. So blood pressure, sleep, fatigue, cholesterol, irritable bowel syndrome, and it was absolutely wrecking her life at that point. I felt so bad because this is something that wrecked kind of my life as well. That just in and of itself produced a lot of anxiety, but we were able to start to point her in the right direction as far as what she needed to do, some of the testing that needed to happen as well. Because all the testing that I saw never tested for any kind of cause. It was just looking for things. I'm like, what are they trying to test for? And if you understand physiology, understand how the body works, you'll understand that I'm going to show you here in just a second. You'll understand why a lot of it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, doc, why am I sick? Why am I sick? Or why am I having a lot of these uh, symptoms of inflammation that are not normal? Well, this goes down to the inflammation talk that we talk about. And this is actually the whole premise of chiropractic. Now, you may think that a chiropractor just cracks necks and backs, and a lot of them just stick to doing that. But if you truly want to know, if you look at the whole spectrum of what's wrong with people, then you have to start handling. People get sick because the body is designed to heal. The body will always adapt to any kind of stressor. But when the stressors become too much, the body can no longer adapt and goes into a disease process. Where are we getting it from? Mental stress, chemical inflammation, physical inflammation. That's why the spine and the nerve system is so important. That's why chemically what's happening with where the immune system is sitting, whether it's underneath the skin, the gastrointestinal system, the lung barriers, that's where the immune system is actually sitting. And then if you look at what mental stress does to the body, you will understand that chronic mental stress just crushes everything else. That's why the Bible always says, do not worry. You do not be anxious. There's a health implication when it comes to not being stressed or not having a whole lot of mental stress. I know this personally as well. So let's go over some of the symptoms of inflammation that are common, but they're absolutely not normal. Okay. So here's the first one. This right here is rosacea. Okay. Rosacea is very common, especially in women, but it is absolutely not normal. Now, here's one of the things that always happens is that if people have problems with the skin, whether it's rosacea, whether it's acne, whatever it might be, the first place that they're going to go is they're going to go to their dermatologist. The dermatologist is going to look at the skin. They're going to say, yep, the skin is inflamed. We need to take down that inflammation. And in fact, I've had people come in. You should see the number of women whose skin clears up once we understand that. I'm going to talk about in just a second. Once we understand this principle of where it's actually coming from. Now, the dermatologist is going to recommend something to try to bring down that inflammation, or sometimes it's even an antibiotic, or sometimes it's synthetic vitamin A, or things like that. But that only affects the skin. That doesn't affect your health. Your skin is a reflection of what's happening internally. And I'm going to give you a perfect example right here. This was before I was doing any of what I was doing now. And my wife suffered terribly from rosacea. This is a picture of her several years ago that you can see with rosacea. And this is actually her about 4 months after. Now, we didn't go to a dermatologist. You know what we did? We started working from the inside out, and you can see the difference between the left and the right. I remember a woman actually looked at this picture and said, "You manipulated this. The lighting is different." I'm like, why? Why? Why would I want to do that? Are you calling me a liar? Apparently, she had a lot of skin issues that hadn't been resolved. She had tried everything, was a little bit upset. Maybe she didn't think of this earlier before. So, but my wife suffered terribly with rosacea. And this was the difference between her after a couple of months. Okay. Now, here's an interesting article that came out just a couple of years ago. So it was about almost 5 years ago. And it's this. Now, pay attention to this because this will leave you clues. The gut microbiome as a major regulator of the gut-skin axis. Intestinal dysbiosis, which is a state of microbial imbalance, has potential to negatively impact skin function. Okay. Now, Clostridium difficile, that's the main driver of this. These metabolites can access the circulation, preferentially accumulate in the skin, and impair epidermal differentiation and skin barrier integrity. That's why when a lot of things happen at the gastrointestinal system, they're also going to happen where the body comes into contact with the external environment as well. As why the skin gets so affected. Now, what does it happen more in men or women? Usually you'll see it more in women. And the reason why is women have they have thinner skin. Men typically do have thicker skin, and it has to do with hormones, testosterone, and things like that. But women do typically have very thinner skin, and you'll see a lot more changes take place. Okay. Now, Intestinal dysbiosis results in increased epithelial permeability, which means that the epithelium is the skin, and it increases epithelial permeability, which then triggers the activation of effector T cells. Okay, disrupting their balance with immunosuppressive regulatory T cells, pro-inflammatory cytokines, which are just chemical messengers um, that then cause an inflammatory response, further enhance epithelial permeability, and set up a vicious cycle of chronic systemic inflammation. Okay. Now, what causes this gastrointestinal dysbiosis or bacterial overgrowth? Psychological and cutaneous GI dysfunction, which leads to psychological, i.e., anxiety, depression, and cutaneous disorders, i.e., like the skin. Now, what's one of the biggest drivers? Hypochlorhydria is frequently associated with acne. Okay. Hypochlorhydria, what does that mean? It means low stomach acid. Everybody says they run around and go, I have too much stomach acid. And guys, I tell you, it's like that's impossible for that to happen because stomach acid is a function of being into rest and digest. Now, you wouldn't sleep too much at night and then suffer from too much stomach acid. Nobody's running around being too relaxed. They're running around being too stressed. And one of the things that happens is hypochlorhydria, low stomach acid, is associated with acne, in which we have known this for years, which then allows for bacterial overgrowth because you're never sterilizing your food the way you're supposed to. Low levels of acidity allows for the migration of colonic bacteria to distal parts of the small intestine, creating a state of intestinal dysbiosis and small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So when people talk about leaky gut and they talk about SIBO, I'm like, do you really know what it is? Leaky gut is the intestinal lining is damaged and is leaking all the proteins through. You're not breaking it down the way you're supposed to. And SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. One of the things that happens, you have low stomach acid. The bacteria that live in the colon can just crawl up into the intestines, which is why it can cause so much bloating and things like that. Malabsorbed nutrients, including folic acid, zinc, chromium, selenium, and omega fatty acids, have been shown to influence one's psychological state and, along with their systemic oxidative stress, have been implicated in the pathophysiology, or here's how it happens, of acne vulgaris. SIBO also results in the production of toxic metabolites, which can injure enterocytes, or cells within your gastrointestinal system, increase intestinal permeability, i.e., like leaky gut, and ultimately lead to systemic inflammation. So, can this absolutely happen with chronic stress? Can this absolutely happen with working out too much? Can this absolutely happen when you're on antibiotics all the time? The answer is absolutely yes. So that's why looking at the gastrointestinal system is so important. Now, this is why we call it the Swiss watch effect, because a problem in the gastrointestinal system can affect a problem within the skin and also within the immune system. Guys, if you understand that the body is never messing up, it's always trying to adapt. And that's why we look at everything as a Swiss watch. Which gear is the most important? They're all important, which is why you have all of those things have to fire together in order for your body to be able to work in harmony, to be able to work together. So all of this works together. If you want better skin, have better digestion, please. All right. Now, here's the next thing: chronic headaches. It seems like everybody gets headaches. In fact, this is something that my wife, Barb, when I first met her, she suffered with greatly. And she had gone to the Diamond Headache Clinic, the pinnacle, of headaches. And who says so? They do. And they had just put her on a low dose of migraine medication. They said, just take this for the rest of your life. Things will be good. My wife also, she had a major physical injury to her neck, and the migraines came in within 2 to 3 days after that. She did a backflip, missed it, landed on her head, and like within days started to develop migraine headaches. And they never ever saw anything was wrong because they were looking for fires and not looking for causes. And so, guys, if you have headaches, are they common? Yes. but they're absolutely not normal. Your body's trying to tell you something. So here's what you have to look for. There's different kind of headaches. One of them can be related to your posture. I have a picture of it to the left, okay? Now, we if your head is jutting forward in front of your body and you have that hump on your back, you're going to have, guys, terrible, terrible shoulder mobility. Okay. This is why when you see people as they age and their head continues to jut forward, why they cannot raise their arms overhead and press any kind of weight overhead because their shoulder mobility is so bad. And then they wonder why their rotator cuff tears, at 60 years of age, just must be old age or whatever. But it can be absolutely related to posture. And here's why. If I stick my head in way forward in front of the body like this, then one of the things that's going to happen is my body is no longer going to work with gravity anymore, and gravity is not going to be my friend. If my head's sticking forward in front of the body, it's like taking a bowling ball and sticking it in front, trying to holding it out, and not expecting your arm to start aching after a while. So is gravity your friend? You have to check your posture. Ears have to be over the shoulders. Shoulders have to be over the hips, and the hips have to be over the ankle bones as well. The body is always trying to line itself up into gravity. Okay. Here's the next thing is hormones. Okay. So you have to look at hormones. All right. I think my mic might just got disconnected as well. But hormones now, and this also has to do with estrogens. And the reason why is when are you getting your headaches? When are you getting your headaches? Because if you are getting your headaches at a certain time every month, then chances are you may have a hard time clearing out your estrogens. You may have a hard time doing that. And I remember I had a young girl who came to me who was having problems with terrible migraine headaches. I said, well, when do you get them? She's like, right before I start my menstrual cycle. And this had been going on for years and years and years. And she had gone to even a chiropractor. I'm like, how are the headaches actually doing? She's like, they've gotten a little bit better, but I've still been getting them. And so we actually tested her hormones and started doing just a couple of things. And for the first time in years, she's like, I haven't had a migraine headache. How wonderful is that? But no one has been able to give her any kind of answers. So, what can cause headaches? Yes, it can be your posture. If you're having at certain times of the month, especially as you start your menstrual cycle, yes, it can be your estrogens. Here's another one. It can be exertional as well. Do you get a big time headache after you exert yourself doing high intensity exercise or something like that? And I've seen people who have they do a workout and they get terrible exertional headaches. And the first place I want to look at is this. Number one, we want to make sure they're not anemic. But the other thing you want to look at is how much swelling do they have around their gastrointestinal system? And I want you to think of this, guys. And I have seen people who had so much gastrointestinal swelling and so much inflammation that all the blood would pool where that inflammation was at, and then they would try to work out, and then they could not get any blood to their brain. And if you can't get any blood to your brain and you're trying to work out, then good luck. You're going to get an exertional headache. So exertion can be a big time issue, especially if you have a lot of gastrointestinal issues. And then obviously, can stress cause this? Yes. So give me a thumbs up if you have had a stress induced headache, because I have had some doozies before, and you guys didn't actually cause it. It was a self-inflicted wound, and that's a lot to do, with stress. There's a lot of your stress that you might have can be self-inflicted as well. So look at your posture. Have you had your hormones checked? Is this happening when I exert myself or with certain levels of stress? Okay. Headaches are common, guys, but they are absolutely not normal. Okay. Now, here's the other thing, too, is what about having chronic pain? And I say chronic pain, I'm talking about within the joints, within the soft tissues, and certain parts of your body. So, do you have any chronic back pain? Do you have any pain in some of the soft tissues, like around the feet or around like the IT band or around the plantar fascia, things like that? And those things can be multifactorial too, guys. Because if you're struggling with a lot of joint pain, here's one of the first things I want to let you know is Again, what does your posture look like? Okay. Um, and what does your inflammatory markers look like? I'm going to show you this. And inflammatory markers, we're talking about C-reactive protein and things like that. Number three, what do your blood sugars look like? Okay. What does your blood sugars look like? I spoke with a gentleman today who came in, terrible, terrible back pain, knee pain, hip pain. And this guy's a type 2 diabetic. I'm like, well, everything is going to hurt if that's happening because blood sugar issues in and of themselves create damage. They're called advanced glycation end stages, which then those sugars link onto proteins that the immune system has and then start to clear out. That's why with type 2 diabetes, why so many people have so many joint issues as well. So look at blood issues. But here's the other thing too is, what are your electrolytes? Where are your electrolytes at? Okay. You may also have very low electrolytes. Now, don't go run out and just start slamming magnesium, things like that. But what can cause chronically low electrolytes? Well, how do you exercise? How much do you exercise? Do you sweat quite a bit? And are you drinking regular water? Because you should be, I always say, don't drink plain water. And in fact, I have some water here. Yes, it's in stainless steel. And you know what I have in it? Electrolytes. You know why I always drink electrolytes? Because I work out. So, but think of this too. You can be low in electrolytes because you have poor absorption. And exercise is one of the things that can cause it. But also, if you have a lot of digestive issues that are going on, that can also interfere with absorption of certain things like B vitamins, iron, things like that. And that's why it's not just slamming a bunch of magnesium as much as you need to figure out why on earth is this happening. Okay. So here's some blood work that we got from an individual that was suffering greatly with things like back pain, knee pain, joint pain, and things like that. Now, if you look at this and you look at their blood markers, you can see that this person is in fact type 2 diabetic. Look at their A1C or their average blood sugars over the course of 90 days. And I want you to think of this. Why do they look at red blood cells to look for glycation? Okay. Why do they look at that? Because red blood cells are in fact soft tissue. They're considered a soft tissue, and they're looking to see how damaged those red blood cells get. That just goes to show you that if they're looking at damage happening to red blood cells, that it's happening in other parts of the body as well. Yes, if you have type 2 diabetes, why do they want to put you on certain things in order to prevent vascular disease for heart attacks, stroke, things like that? It's because if you want to accelerate this, have some damage to your endothelial lining or have some blood sugar issues, and they will put you like you wouldn't believe on things in order to prevent a heart attack and stroke right away. Because yes, it is a lot more prevalent in people who have blood sugar issues with heart attack and stroke and things like that. So you can see, if you look at her blood work, you can see your hemoglobin A1C is very elevated. You know what else is elevated? Look at her insulin levels, how elevated those are. This is why, guys, I'm always like, why on earth are you trying to go on Mounjaro or some kind of GLP-1 agonist? All it does is try to increase insulin levels. And look at how high her insulin levels are. I'm like, if you want to be insulin resistant, go ahead and take those drugs and be on it for the rest of your life. And you're seeing now, since I've talked about it, so many side effects that are coming out of doctors who had no idea that there was any kind of side effects. I'm like, you know why I know that there's side effects? Just look at how the body works and you'll understand that there's going to be side effects associated with it. So you can see very elevated insulin levels and also C-reactive protein. So high sensitivity C-reactive protein, you can see extremely elevated at that point. Guys, who's measuring this? Because if you have any kind of injury anywhere and you're inflamed, where does it go first? So I've had a lot of lower back injuries in my past, and if I allow myself to become really inflamed, you know what hurts first? My lower back. It's almost like a magnet towards inflammation. So if you want your joints to feel better, get your blood sugars under control and know how to handle inflammation, especially. Now, I want to ask you guys a question, because everybody says, what supplement are you going to take? And guys, is it outside in or is it inside out? And I don't blame you for saying, what supplement do I have to take? And the reason why is because that's what we're taught from a very young age. We're taught this outside in approach, meaning that health is achieved by the medications that we take, by the injections that we're given at a very young age, or by taking our medicine, or by taking a bunch of vitamins as well. Guys, I want you to think of this. If I cut my finger, do I have to eat some kale, take a nap, or run a 5K? Do I need to exercise? Do I need to eat right? Or do I need to, get enough sleep? I don't. It's inborn in my body. Now, those things, they don't create health, but they can be a part of your restoration journey. And there's a difference between the two. So outside in or inside out. So how the body heals is inside out, not from an outside in approach. What do I need to take? What do I need to just start dumping inside of my body? It's an inside out. Healing is an inside job. And that's why when people say, do you treat this? I'm like, honestly, we don't really treat anything, because how can we get a person's gastrointestinal system better and their acne goes away? And meanwhile, we've never said anything about acne. We've never said anything about weight loss, yet it happens. And because health, when you get health, it's an inside out job. And that's what you need to focus on. When people say my health is everything, and it's like, then work on your health from the inside out. Start doing the right things that will bring health from the inside out, and quit trying to go use this outside in type of approach. Okay. Now, how do you do that? Handle the majors. Start handling the majors, and the minors will usually take care of themselves. Start handling the majors. Do you know anybody who just always talks about the minors? And they can't understand why the major things don't get better, because they're handling the small issues. You need to handle the biggest issues, and the minors will start to take care of themselves. And it comes down to this. Why am I sick? Why am I sick? This is the whole principle of chiropractic, is because of this. Think of this. The body is designed to heal. It's designed to adapt. And if it can't, is because there's too many things going on when it comes to mental stress, chemical stress, or too many physical stressors. If you don't believe me, watch a person get into a car accident and watch what happens to their body after that. Okay. So physical stressors is a huge thing, mental stressors, and also chemical stressors. Which one is the most important? They're all important. And that's why you really do have to handle all three. And this is why we do the inflammation talk every 3 weeks. And our next one is going to be Tuesday, March 12th. So if you are on the fence with being there, just get there, please. Please register for it. You could even call our office at 630-553-6149. I think that's the number. You can find us on Google as well. But get there to that event. And then also, if you are watching remotely and you are in the contiguous 48 states, then get onto that webinar, because that webinar we will talk about inflammation. You can register right away, or on a Tuesday or on a Saturday, and you can watch that right away. Make sure you have an hour of your time, because at the end of that, there's going to be a link to be able to schedule a discovery call with me. And I would love to be able to get a phone and with you and be able to talk with you one-on-one and in person, get a better understanding of what's going on. But I would be excited. I'd also be humbled to be a part of your wellness journey. I really would. And I think we do such great work with the Wellness Way approach, especially only because we're following physiology, okay? Following physiology, mental, chemical, and physical. Mental, chemical, and physical, and you have to handle all three of those. So guys, common signs, common warning signs of inflammation that are common, but they're absolutely not normal. Now, here's my question. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep ignoring it, and at some point it's going to blow up in your face? Or are you going to work with someone? It's okay to work with someone. It's okay to reach out for help. And if you need help, please reach out to me. I'll point you in the right direction, especially. This is why I probably refer 15 to 20 people a month to the Wellness Way to find a doctor. And the greatest thing I can tell you is just please reach out for help. You're not admitting defeat. You're actually starting the journey. You are ready to start that journey. And there's a lot of doctors out here that would love to be able to work with you. And they're awesome people. I know all of them personally. Okay. All right. So make sure you don't ignore it, guys. Please don't. Now, I want you guys to help me. Okay. I want you guys to help me and give me your thoughts, because I don't want to do a topic and know that no one cares about. But if you are watching online right now, I Googled this because I was passing by and I've seen this jump up on newspapers and things like that. And so I just typed this in, and this was on the first page of what I was looking at, and it was measles in Chicago. So, guys, let me know your thoughts. Do you guys want to know about measles? Because one of the things that you are seeing is you're seeing that a lot of people are talking about it now. And just remember this, I'll talk about it next week if we have people say, yeah, I want to know about that. But here's something interesting that I'm going to add, and then I'll be done. Okay. Have you ever noticed that prior to a vaccine, prior to it, no one ever thought that it was serious until after the vaccine. And then they started saying how dangerous everything was. It's the same thing with chickenpox. Like now, if you ask someone about chickenpox, they're like, oh my gosh, it's so dangerous. But 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we would have chickenpox parties and we would have a ball, with it. And so now that they have a vaccine for everything, I'll probably get in trouble for saying that, but now they make it so dangerous so that you run and you get all those different things. And now you're seeing that something that they said we eradicated is now actually coming back, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I thought you eradicated it. How can it come back if it was eradicated? So you're starting to see this pop up in the news, and I want to be able to get to it before, because we missed it 3 or 4 years ago with what, with the absolute what show that took place with that. So if you want me to talk about this, then let me know as well. And I'll do my best to put everything together, but you just have to let me know. So if you want to hear about measles, my thoughts on it, I will also let you know. And in fact, if you watch Ozzie and Harriet, or you watch the Brady Bunch, you'll know exactly what my thoughts are, about it as well. Remember, any virus can be dangerous if you are immunocompromised. Yet, what is the doctor telling you to do in order to bring your immune system back up? So, guys, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your kind words and also for your birthday wishes. Thank you for underestimating how old I truly am. So next week, I'll have a live video. Let me know what you want to see. I will consider everything. If you let me know what you want, I will do my best to put things together. So guys, be well, be blessed, and as always, remember who you are. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys joining. And also thank